Lynx. She's too good to pass up, and she's on the current banner. And what is that banner? The best banner in the game right now. And believe it or not, she's the reason why it's the best banner in the game. Yes, Lynx is the best 4-star on the banner, the game, and is also in contention for the best healer in the game as well. But that's my opinion on that, and we'll get more into that at the end of the video, because first, we're going to talk about the most important part, how to build her. So we're going to go over all of her skills first, but if you don't care about that, there's going to be timestamps so you can skip over all of that. So hopping into Linky Stinky skill first. Yes, I called her Linky Stinky because yes, that fat ass can of fish is scaring everyone away. It stinks. Get it away, get it out of here. We shouldn't be eating that Lynx. Anyways, as far as the basic rundown of what her skill does, it's going to be targeting one ally, healing them, increasing their aggro if they're destruction or preservation, and also provide continuous healing on that ally as well. This does feed into the talent as well, which also feeds into the ult. The talent, guys, is going to be giving continuous healing on ult and skill, and also if they have the survival response, which is what you get when using the skill on an ally, they'll be getting more continuous healing on top of that. Really cracked, really huge, a lot of continuous healing coming out of her kit. It's really nice to see, so it adds a little bit of extra sustainability to the team. But the big reason why Lynx is so good is because of her ult. Her ult not only heals all of your allies, it also is going to be removing one debuff from all of your allies as well. This is literally just better than Natasha. Natasha gives continuous healing to the lowest ally and then heals all of your allies with her ultimate. This is going to be healing all allies, giving them continuous healing and then removing one debuff from them all. So now you're not having to use a skill point to remove a debuff from each one of your allies when they have them. Her ult removes it all. So that kind of tells us how we're going to build her kit out, but we'll get into her relics and stuff after this. Hopping into her traces now, her first bonus trace is going to increase the chance to resist crowd control debuffs by 35%. This is really helpful so that she doesn't get stunned as much, frozen as much, controlled as much. This is just really huge. I like to see crowd control resist and effect resistance in kits because it's just really nice to see, and it helps them out a lot in the long run. So you're not having to try to get that god nectar of a stat roll. Her next bonus ability, Advanced Surveying. After the target with survival response is hit, Lynx will generate 2 energy immediately. This can play a really big role, especially if you're targeting like a destruction or preservation character. This means she's going to be able to charge her ult up that much quicker. Something like this with Clara, hey, yo, this is going to be huge. Think of March 7th putting a shield on Clara. Now let's just think of Lynx putting the skill on Clara as well. So she's getting extra energy. She's making Clara get targeted while also healing Clara. Really, really huge there. And then finally, her last one is going to be Survival in the Extreme. Extends the duration of the continuous healing effect granted by the talent for 1 turn. So that just means we're getting 3 turns of continuous healing instead of 2, which kind of lines up perfectly to give your allies continuous healing for every turn they need until she can ult again. So if you run her the way I build her, you'll almost have 100% uptime on this. A quick rundown of how I'd level up her skills. I would focus on leveling up her ultimate first, then her talent, and then her skill, and then finally her basic attack if you want to do that. Her basic attack does scale off of her max HP, which is really, really nice, but not necessary in the slightest. So I would recommend Ultimate first because it's healing all of your allies. It's going to be providing the biggest heal to your whole team. Second is going to be your talent because that provides more continuous healing to the team. And then finally, you know, the skill because it just heals one ally. So yeah. But wait, gamers, before we hop into the relics, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 4,000 by the end of the month, and I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribed if you're enjoying this video. If you're not, then video, I guess. But anyways, let's talk about the relics. Now, hopping into the relics, guys, my favorite set to run her is going to be the 4-piece Hackerspace set. This gives her more speed and gives your allies more speed when you're ulting. And with this build, you'll be ulting pretty often, which means you're giving a pretty consistent speed buff to the whole team as well as making her faster so she can go more, use her ult more, and everything like that. This is going to be my favorite build for her. Another set you could run would be a 2-piece Hackerspace, 2-piece Passerby. This is going to increase her speed by 6%, so she's getting the added benefit of the speed, and then also increasing her outgoing healing, which means she's healing your allies up more. So I mean, this could be an alternative. If she's not enough to like sustain your team, then you could run something like this to help out. And that's what I also consider to be her second best in slot. But let's go ahead and talk about 2 more sets now you could run if you're absolutely destitute or it's very niche scenarios where you would need these. First of all, 4-piece Passerby. I would recommend running this if you're running her on a Danny team. You're going to need a lot of speed for this because you need her to be fast. But what this does also is make the team more skill point efficient on the first turn, meaning you can buff him up more to potentially kill the enemies in one cycle or one turn with him. I just do think this is a pretty good way to run her if you're running her with Danny. And then finally, you could run a 2-piece of the Disciple and 2-piece of the Passerby. This is going to be giving her more max HP and more outgoing healing. This will just make her a lot more efficient with healing or doing bigger heals. So if you're having trouble with healing, this could be a set for you to run as well. Hopping into the planar sets I would recommend running, Broken Keel because it's going to be giving a crit damage buff to the whole team, but you could also run Fleet of the Ageless as well, which gives her more max HP and gives her more healing. The attack buff is not as potent as a crit damage buff, but you do you on that. I would recommend running Broken Keel here. So before doing the gear comparisons here, I do want to show you the numbers that I used when I was doing this testing and also the final stats as well. I went for a very bare bones look on her as far as the gear goes. I went for just main stats and then also just getting enough speed to make her reach 134 speed and enough effect resistance to proc off Broken Keel. So this is what I'm running right here. This is obviously going to be a lot better when you're trying to do it and your stats are going to be a lot higher. This is just the bare minimum recommended things that I could tell you to run on her, right? And then as far as the final stats go, we're sitting at 4,300 HP, which is honestly not bad at all considering we're just basing this off of main stats. Here's a pretty high HP stat off a rip, and then also 1,000 defense here as well at 140 speed on top of that. And don't really worry about that 140 speed too much. That's just because we're running the 4-piece of the Hackerspace and it's giving us that 6 extra speed there. That will obviously change to 134 when we change sets. So first things first, I want to compare our 4-piece Hackerspace to our 2-piece Passerby and 2-piece Hackerspace. There is about a 7 to 8% difference, let's just say 7 to 10% difference in the healing that Passerby gives you. Obviously, it's giving you more outgoing healing, which is really nice for the heals, but if you can afford not to take it, I do think overall that Hackerspace is the better set to run. But like I said, if you need the extra healing, it's right there. That's why I think it's the second best in slot, just because it provides a little bit of extra healing for your team. Obviously, if you're running the same main stats that I'm running and have them all maxed out with their full substats built up and stuff like that, it's going to look higher than this and the margins do get a little bit bigger. Obviously, there's not going to be any stat difference between the full Hackerspace versus the full Passerby. You're just getting that extra skill point there. I'm not going to show the difference because there is no difference. Now we're going to be comparing the 4-piece Hackerspace to the 2-piece Longevious Disciple and 2-piece Passerby. There's about a 10 to 13% difference if you were to add all the numbers up and actually use your real numbers. So there is a lot bigger increase there. It also increases her survivability because it is increasing that max HP by an extra percentage from that 2-piece Disciple set. So like I said, could be a good set to run if you're really struggling. Like I said, overall though, I think a 4-piece Hackerspace is going to be the best for her. One of the last things I want to show here is the difference between using Keel and also Ageless. There's about a probably 5% difference in healing there using Ageless, and you also get diminishing returns on the attack buff. It doesn't matter. It gives her more sustainability because it's giving her more max HP. And the final thing I do want to show you guys is the difference between running the outgoing healing boost on the body versus an HP body. For some reason, I see some people in the comments saying to run HP piece body. I just don't think that's true. I think you run outgoing healing boost. There is too big of a difference to not run it. It's like a 15 to 18% difference in the healing you're getting there. So I just can't see running that. Run outgoing healing boost on the body. It's going to be the best option there. Now let's talk about the stats. I talked about it some in the stat breakdown there, but you want to be running speed boots. You want her to be as fast as possible so she's able to use her abilities as fast as possible and get her ult up as fast as possible as well. Hopping into the body here, guys, I'm running an outgoing healing boost body. Like I said, just run outgoing healing boost here. It's going to be the best for her. On the sphere, we're just running an HP sphere here. I'm not looking for her to do DPS. I want her to survive more and do a little bit of extra healing. So HP orb is the best for me. And then finally for the rope, we're running energy regeneration rope. And now the reason I'm running energy regeneration rope is to turn down the turn cycles, because as of right now, if you're not using her skills, it takes about 5 rotations to actually get her ultimate back up, and this will drastically reduce that. And then finally, as far as the substats go, I would just recommend getting HP percentage, effect resistance, speed, and probably defense percentage as well to make her survive just more easily on the field. That's really all you need to run on her there. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the light cones. Now, starting off with what I think to be her best light cone, which is post-op conversation. Now, the reason I like using post-op conversation is because it does increase the energy regen rate of her, and it also gives her some extra outgoing healing on her ultimate as well. and that's the main thing we're focused on right now. I do have an S5 post-op conversation, which yeah, it does help me up a lot more than an S1 would, but even with an S1 post-op conversation, you are getting around 25 energy back per basic and 38 energy back per skill you use. That means on cycle 1 you're able to get the ultimate up with 2 basic attacks versus having to use a skill here. Now it's probably useful to actually use a skill here just because it does give extra energy back to her if that target is attacked, meaning if you target your Fu Xuan and or other tank slash destruction character, you'll be getting extra energy for that, and it'll be giving you around 1 extra energy per hit. So instead of it giving you 2 energy back per hit, it gives you around 2.5 energy back, something like that. So it does give you a little bit extra energy back on that attempt as well. But I do think the second best in slot 4 is perfect timing, and that's just because of the fact that this does give the user a lot of effect resistance. Effect resistance is really nice on just about any character. It's the hardest stat to actually get in the game. And then on top of this is going to be increasing the outgoing healing cover by a certain amount of the effect resistance as well. So this is why this is really good. It helps out just with healing overall, though I do think getting her ultimate back up quicker is more essential to her kit just because it does have that cleanse, and you want to be able to get it back up as much as possible so you're able to spam it. There are a couple other options you could run. I mean, you could run Quid Pro Quo. I don't really recommend Quid Pro Quo because it doesn't really give any benefit to her. Now it does give benefit to the rest of the team by giving them extra energy if they're below 50%. But outside of this, I just don't think it's that good of a choice to run. But outside of that, I really just don't think it's that good of a choice to run, and I think some of the 3-star Lightcones could potentially be better, especially things like Cornucopia, which just increases the skill and ultimate outgoing healing. Finally, Multiplication, which whenever the user uses a basic attack, it advances for their action by 20%, meaning you can use her basic attack more often and charge energy up more efficiently. But overall, best in slot is going to be post-op conversation here. Just to give you guys a numerical comparison here, this is going to be between post-op conversation and perfect timing. Perfect timing does help you out on the skill healing and also some of the continuous healing as well. It's probably around like a 7% increase there, 7 to 10% maybe, depending on what your stats are. So it is like a decent chunk of healing, especially if you can get that healing up higher or your HP stat up higher to really help us out more. But overall, I mean, I think it's pretty close, and I just think post-op overall is a little bit better. One more comparison I want to show is post-op versus the S5 Cornucopia, which is a 3-star Lightcone. As you can see, your healing does increase by about 5% on the ultimate and around 14 to 15% on the skill use with the Cornucopia Lightcone. I mean, you do get like lower overall stats because it is a 3-star Lightcone, but you can easily get it to S5, which means you can get the max outgoing healing buff, which is 24% here. But that's really it for the Lightcone section. So now let's talk about why I think Lynx could possibly be the best healer in the game, maybe better than Luocha in certain circumstances. So Luocha is really good for a couple of reasons. First of all, he gives a continuous healing on the field whenever he uses 2 of his talents. Basically he gets like 2 skills. He puts a shield down whenever your allies deal damage. It heals everyone up. Really good. Someone drops below 50% HP, he heals them up. And he's also going to be removing a buff from all enemies as well. The reason why I think she could be more beneficial to your team is because, first of all, she heals the whole team on her ultimate. She's more support based than I would say Luocha is. Luocha does have some attack elements with him that, of course, you know, Lynx does not have, but with that, she makes up for with her kit of just healing and supporting your team more. I think the ability to be able to remove 1 debuff from your allies is super strong instead of removing a buff. Removing buffs are just nice to have, while removing a debuff from every single ally just with your ultimate is super clutch. On top of this, this also grants continuous healing as well. Surely it's not as much healing as what Luocha grants, but it does grant continuous healing for a lot of turns, and this can be multiplied and stacked whenever she uses her skill. It also grants more aggro and max HP to that ally, which means it helps support your tanks some more as well. And that's what kind of makes her better to me than Luocha, because she has the ability to help the team out more than Luocha does. Luocha has a lot of nice to haves and, you know, the ability to actually deal damage, where she is just focused on supporting the team more. I think she's for sure better than Bailu and Natasha, but I do think Luocha and her are really close. Certain circumstances, I think she does come out on top. I'm not saying all circumstances, but I do think in certain circumstances she is definitely better than Luocha 4, and I think in those circumstances she's also better than Bailu and Natasha in just about every situation. So overall, I do think Lynx is an absolutely amazing character. You should try pulling for her if you don't have her already on your account. I think she can help your account out a lot, actually. I think she is probably the best thing to come out of this banner. I think she is better than Fushuan. I think, honestly, my opinion on Fushuan is she's pretty similar as far as defense capabilities to Gepard, which is not bad by any means, but I do think the extra sustain character or healer they've added to the game, which is Lynx, the Landau sibling, is really, really good. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one, which will probably be, I don't know, actually. There's a hook build guide coming out, so just stay tuned for that, I guess. Anyways, bye, gamers.